All right, this is going to be a demo on how to, uh, with it without any editing, be able to do cutaway roofs. So what you're wanting to do, you have a building like this. You walk in, the roof goes away. Whenever you walk out, it is now covered again. And I'm going to show you start to finish how to do that. So you see our demo here. We're going to do it right next to it. So starting off, this is just going to show a simple basic layout for it. So nothing complicated. We're going to first pick something to do our floor with. That's going to be on mask 1 because we've done the ground layer as all of our ground. So we will just stick with this auto tile just because it works good. Make sure you're in the right auto tile format. And we are going to do a rectangle fill. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 7 wide. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go up. Do our wall. And there's our base set up. I've already gone. You will need to make under your resources, under your tile sets, kind of like we had the slanted roofs, you will need to make a custom roof thing for it. So the way we will get that is on our next layer up, we can go ahead and draw what we want for our roofs. So houses, this one I took that, and on this layer, we'll come down to this. And there we have our new roof set up. You'll need something that you can screenshot this. So I use ShareX. You want to make sure you grab the full thing. And see, I now have it. We're going to open this in GIMP or whatever file editing software you want. All right. On your program, if you have something that shows that allows snap to grid, configure your grid to match it like we're doing with 32 by 32-bit pixel tiles, and make sure it's something you can see what you're doing. So now we have something here that works. We're going to drag this in here. We need to move this to where it's selectable. Now zoom in. You want to cut out the tiles that you've done on your door. Flatten it down, merge it down, whatever you want to do. So now you can see I've got a version. It looks a little bit different than the first one I did. Export that, save it, however, depending what software you're using. All right, and that's done. Now you have to go and restart your editor and your client to make sure that it gets the new files. All right, now I have restarted, and you can see I forgot to save it. The event. And this only works if you're going to do a one way in, one way out. We're going to place the event right where our doorway is. And this is going to be 2 pages. So your first page, going to bring it up, select your tile sets, go to that custom roofs. You can do either one you want because we've cut out the middle here. We're going to do the one that I just did because I messed it up to begin with. Make sure it's passable, hide the name. You want to make sure it's player collide. So what happens is whenever they run through it, it'll do this command over here. We're going to self switch A to true. On the second page, we're going to leave the entity option empty. We're going to change the spawn condition and make it to where when this self switch A is true, turn off the else, it spawns this page. Change the player collide. In this one, we're going to have it set the self switch A to false. And you can see we have our image here. And then one last thing to do to make sure it appears right. You want this one to show above player on page 1. And to make sure players can't just go willy-nilly. Whoops. You want to make sure they can't walk in or out another way. That'll be our only way in and out, right lined up with the event. Let's save it. Now you see that we have it. You walk in, you can see the inside of the house. Oh, messed up something. Go back to the event. You always need to make sure on your page 2, hide the name, passable. Is now working mostly as intended. You will have some stuff to fix. Like, see, really, I cut it down too far. I should leave this bottom row empty. So whenever I come in, you still see that bottom row to act as your bottom wall, since you can't put anything here to interact with it. And then you'll need extra blockers up here to keep you from walking on the wall. Let's see if that, just because I know he's getting ready to walk out. Should I did too low? If you ever have to do any changes, you can either remove this, set it to none. That lets you see what's underneath of it. Now, overall, it's simple to do. It's great for if you're cookie cutting your buildings and you got a lot that are alike. However, is it worth the effort of doing? That's a decision for you. And if you want to do this to, like, say if there was 2 entrances, instead of using a self switch here, you would have to do something like, I can kind of show you real quick. We're going to take this off for a moment. Variable letter, player variable, new indoor. And this will just be a Boolean set variable to true. Paste. Set variable to false. Spawn execute condition. I'm going to remove that condition and make it to where if the player variable is true, we're on this page. So on this one, it'll have it set it to true. This one sets it to false. And it only shows up if it's already true. And this one we'll use to govern. Well, let's not do that yet. Save. Now let's say we're going to put a little back door in here. Remove those blocks. And we'll need to add another event here. No, I don't want to say change. So what we want to do, make sure we're just selecting current layer only. We're going to copy this and place it here. Now, whenever you're doing it this way, you only need one of them to govern your sprite. The sprite will always start with the E being as centered as possible. Your event will be as centered as possible for the sprite. So this bottom one, our initial one, is what we'll use. Custom roofs. Go with this. Save. Save. And let's see what happens. So we're outside. Now, the reason the self switches don't work on this way is because these two events, self switches only would stay to the event in question. They have no way of knowing about each other's switches. So that's why to do a multi-exit, you would have to have variables at that point. So whenever you do bigger buildings, you also have to have bigger sprite sets to cover it and everything. So it depends on the size of your buildings, how many entrances and exits you're going to do that make it worth it. But that is how you can do. You can see because of doing it this way, this one's using the self switch. That's the last thing I'll show you. We can make it to where we'll edit the. We can make it to where you can do multiple variables. Or you can make it to where there is just like, I am an indoor. Then we got to set variable again. Player variable indoor. We're going to set it to false. Save it. So now no matter what, if I'm indoors, you'll see indoors. In door left, we'll say this one. I have blocks for this one set up now. We want to see for a minute what we're doing. We'll get the same thing here. We'll put another back door out this one. Go to events. Again, we want this one to be the one governing this, so we'll set the tile set back up. Custom roofs. So now we got two buildings with two entrances, two exits that we can do. But now, to do that, it's now governing by 4 events with 2 variables. One, you'll need at this rate, you would end up needing at minimum 1 variable per thing. And if you start getting weird shaped houses, I'll do this. If you wanted to do an L-shaped house, you would need to be able to cover that like we did in the step when we made this, which means you're making larger sprite sheets, or you're segmenting this into a bunch of smaller sprite segments to do it. That's all on it if it's up to the effort of you and what you want to do with it. So, but that's how you would do it. Any questions, feel free to leave comments, ask me on Discord, and if there's anything else you want to see, let me know.